Alone.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today, my name is Mariela, and I am here with Jason and Isaiah. And we are here for another episode of In the Trenches. Number one, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Pretty well.
Good. So Easter is coming up Sunday, so did you have a good week? How would you rate your week, right? In our household, I would say that we did pretty well. We did our videos, and every day, and we also kept together. We did our family meetings, like we normally do, except just a few tweaks that we need to make for coming up next week. So with that said, we are going to also review what we did during the week. Jason and Isaiah will do that portion, and I will let you carry on.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Like Mariela said, we're going to kind of run through what we did this week, do a quick review, and then we'll get back to the lab here and prepare for next week, where we'll start to work on each one of these individually and go into a little bit more depth for better understanding and educational purposes. So glad you're with us today. I see a few people are starting to jump on. We're getting a few views. I don't know if Isaiah's been watching it on all his devices or not, just to get our clicks up here, but we are getting a few views lately. So whoever's watching, we appreciate it very, very much. Let's I'll turn it over to you, Isaiah. What do you want to talk about?
So, obviously, like Mariella had said, we did pretty good this week. This week is spring break for most, and things are a little out of whack. But as Mariella said, we were able to stay together, keep doing our thing, making our videos, meetings, all that. Make a few tweaks here and there. As far as next week goes, come Monday, we're gonna. So throughout the week, we broke down each and every one of these just a little bit. We dived into each one a tiny bit and explained what exactly they are and what their role in the sales process is. As far as next week goes, we're going to break each one down individually now. So come Monday, we're going to specifically be talking about prospecting. Tuesday is going to be qualifying. Wednesday is going to be needs assessment. Thursday is going to be presenting. And then Friday is going to be handling objections and the closing of the deal. So that is what you all will be looking forward to come next week. And we will be back to normal times as well. 8 a.m. start time for next week.
It'll be more like 8:15 start time.
8:15.
Yeah. All right, so based on that, so what we talked about this week, obviously we started off the week talking about the sales process. And in the sales process, the first one is prospecting. The first thing you have to do is you have to find a customer. You have to find somebody. And we talked about different ways of reaching out to customers. Isaiah, you want to read what we came up with this week?
Yes, sir. So prospecting, you've got a couple of different ways that you can go about that. The two most obvious are going to be door knocking and over the phone. Your next ones are going to be email, social media, referral partners, and in our city we have Chamber of Commerce, basically any networking events in your area. Those are going to be the top 5 or 6 ways that you can prospect for whatever you're selling.
For new clients. So you got to get out there one way or another. And you've got to communicate with people. You got to find somebody. You got to find a need, and you got to show them that, hey, I'm here to fill that need. So next we've got qualifying, and we talked about qualifying as important, right? We'll go into a little bit more depth on this. You've got somebody in front of you. You're talking to them, and you are trying to qualify what needs or wants they have to see if it's something that you can fulfill. So Isaiah.
Yeah, so when it comes to qualifying, you are going to want to make sure that they have a certain amount of need for the service that you are selling. You obviously don't want to sell someone or pitch someone who does not need your services at all. Then you're also going to be looking for the right person to make that decision, timeline, and do they have a need or a want for your services.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier in the week, qualifying is an important step here. It's followed up by needs assessment, but that initial qualifying is, big thing. Yeah, am I talking to the right person? Okay. Do they have a timeline depending on your product? Is this something that they are planning to do later on down the road, later in the year? Is it something they're looking at taking care of right now? And the big thing is finding out who the right person is. Do you have all the decision makers available to you? You don't want to, this is a good time to get that out. And then do they actually have a need, or is it just a want? That's a big thing, right? So if you have a problem, if you have a need, that's different than a want, because a want is not, again, it's not necessarily a necessity. So that can kind of change that timeline, whether or not they're going to make a decision.
You also need to qualify how much they want it, because a lot of people want a lot of things. So if it is something that they want to do later down the road or in the future, you are going to want to qualify that person even more and get what they want set in stone.
Hey, man, they may be having a big party in a couple of weeks, and you show up, and it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we are. We're having a big spring party for the Kentucky Derby, and it would be nice to have our windows clean. You came at the right time. I was going to make a call to see if I could get somebody out here to get these windows clean and get all the gutters and everything kind of straightened up. So you never know. The next one, that's that needs assessment. I guess that kind of bleeds into what I had just said, right? And that's really digging deeper. Now that we've qualified that person, that there's a need there, now let's dig in deeper into the details, find out exactly what the need is.
All right, so needs assessment, like you said, kind of goes into the qualifying. You also, the more you can observe when you're either taking a look at their services that they already have or their current providers, or for me, the windows on the house and everything that may be dirty that could be cleaned, the more you can observe, the more you can throw into that back end of the deal. So when you're making assessment for whatever, or when you're going through the assessment process for the sale, you're just looking at, again, what do they currently have? What are they currently set up with? What could your services provide to them and do for them if they were to switch over?
Well, I think I was going to say another thing is it's like, we could use yours as an example here, right? So you're prospecting, you're qualifying, you've got that pitch, that initial conversation, right? So you can't, in my case, there's a whole bunch of things with business technology that I can help a company with, but I can't on my pitch say everything. Isaiah, in his work, right? He is primarily pitching on that door-to-door knock with the window washing and the cleaning of the sills and all that kind of stuff, getting the windows real pretty. But he has other services that are available. Now, he's not coming in there and listing all of his services, right? Because that can get confusing to people if you hit them with too much. He's hitting them with the biggest need first. But now in that needs assessment, he can dive deeper into that conversation, right? Hey, we do power washing. We do landscaping work. We do other odds and ends around the house that I noticed this X, Y, and Z needs to be taken care of. How about we take a look at that as well? So good time to do that. And then you've got your presenting, right? Like we talked about in my line of work, the needs assessment is happening in one appointment, one meeting. I'm having that conversation. I'm getting more information to be able to put together a proposal for new and upgraded, better services, maybe cost savings. But now I got to take it back to, the office, and I got to develop that proposal so that I can come back and I can present the solution. Isaiah, yours is a little bit different because you're doing this for the most part right then and there. However, with your additional services, if there's something else they want, that is something where, in your case, when you've done deck refinishing, right? And you've got to now take those measurements. You've got to go and put a quote together and actually come back and present. So somebody wants the deck power washed and restained. That's not something you're just throwing out a price because all decks are different. All that's different, right?
Correct. So I would say that the presenting also ties into the needs assessment. While you're assessing, you're also putting together your presentation or what you're going to present to the person. For me, I'm having to put together that presentation on the spot. So again, while I'm going around, I'm assessing what needs to be done, and anything extra that can be done. I'm also building up, the presentation, and after my 30 seconds are done, and I meet that person at the front door again. Now I'm going into explaining the process and the price of what we're going to do and what it's going to run that specific person to do the job.
Yep.
So yeah, when it comes to presenting, again, it ties into the needs assessment. You're putting everything together that you've taken in, putting it into one. Again, putting together you're explaining the process, your price, and then you're giving it to the customer and selling them on it.
And that's where you're going to start getting, right? We talked about objection handling or handling objections. We know that throughout the whole process, there could be objections, right? Especially at the beginning when you're prospecting, you're going to get those initial people who just you're bugging them. However, at the end here is where we're going to really come into the biggest objections, right? Once we get into the process, you're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to list maybe the top 5 to 7 most common objections. And here's what's interesting, like, talking with Isaiah and knowing what he runs across out there, it's literally the same thing that I hear. There are only a handful of objections that you're going to get in the sales process. It's not like there's 1,001 different things you have to prepare for. Really, there's probably 10 or less main objections that you're going to have to deal with, and all the other objections kind of come out from that. So we'll list those main objections next week. We're going to start working on ways to handle them and how to identify them as those main objections, and then these other little spidery kind of objections that come out of there. Go ahead. Did you have something?
Oh, no, I didn't. I wanted you to finish. Did you finish?
No, not quite yet.
Okay, so finish it up.
So yeah, with the objections, every objection is a step closer to yes. I think that is a good thing to keep in the back of your head. And then, like JT said, 99% of the time, you're going to have to overcome objections. You might get a lay down here and there, but it's not what you should expect when going door to door or picking up the phone. So make sure, like you said, you've got 10 solid objections, that you've got at least 2 comebacks for, and just repeat those every day. Practice those every day until it's automatic, because, again, there's only a handful of objections that you're going to get, whether you're over the phone or door to door.
Yep. And then the last thing, obviously, is closing. We talked about yesterday, you've got to ask for the business. At some point, you have to ask for the business, and sometimes you may have to ask for the business a few different ways. Sometimes you ask for the business, you get an objection. And you got to handle that objection, ask for the business. They come up with something else, and a lot of time that's kind of clarifying probably on the customer's end. So we're going to talk about different ways of asking for the business. But remember, you have to ask for the business. Again, like
at least
Isaiah,
once.
Yeah.
At least once, because, again, in my case, I asked for the business 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different times before I closed the deal.
Yeah.
Because, again, just like the objections you get on the front end, the back end is going to be the same. They're all, for the most part, BS. They're not real. They're just throwing it out there because, again, it's automatic for them. So you're going to have to ask for the business not just once, not just twice, maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yep. And remember, fear. False evidence appearing real. Don't be afraid. Come on in.
So I wanted to end this with this discussion, at least, with number 1 is what Jason said, about closing. It takes time, guys. It truly does. Jason has been in the business for several years now, and the hardest thing for him, even today, is asking for the business to close a deal. So just know that it takes time. Don't get discouraged. It will, with practice, you'll get it.
Right.
And then also question now to these guys. So with talked about all these things, what about where does the pitch come? Is the pitch consider this whole thing, or the pitch comes before that, like an introductory pitch? Where would you put
So
that
I
pitch?
would say that the pitch is I would say the pitch comes first, but you also have to learn how to kind of multitask when you're doing it, because while you're doing the pitch, you should also, like, as I'm walking up, I'm qualifying the customer just by, looking at the outsides of the gutters or looking at the windows that are on their house to see if they are dirty. So I would say the pitch comes before, but you've also got to be able to run yourself through all of these things before you even go to make the deal.
Okay, what
Yeah,
about Jason?
no,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the pitch is the introduction.
Okay.
Like Isaiah said, he's qualifying as he's walking up. He's also qualifying before he goes to a neighborhood to know what neighborhood, where he's going, where he wants to work, what customers he's looking for. I'm doing the same thing before the call. I'm specifying who I want to speak to, what businesses I'm going at for specific reasons. So we can actually, now that I think about it, we'll talk about qualifying, kind of getting our qualifying where you want to go, who you want to call, who you want to try to attract. But the pitch is the pitch is really that opening line. That's
Okay.
where you're really at the front end, getting the person at least interested in having a conversation with you.
Okay, so we're gonna open the floor to you guys to give us some comments. Give us some, if you have any questions, put it in the comments below, and we will jump into the motivational video
Yeah, we'll
here.
jump into a quick motivational
Yes.
video this week. We've had Les Brown kind of exclusively for the week, and really enjoy his content. So we're going to play a quick video. We'll play the first 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, or something like that. We'll watch it. The link will be in the description. We'll have a quick discussion of what we heard, and then we'll wrap things up on this Good Friday morning. Thanks.
There you go.
Let's see.
Information. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, you're not going to join us?
What we're going to talk about now is simply some keys to self-motivation. And all of us have motivation of some sort. I define motivation as the desire to achieve that which you believe to be worthwhile. And many people go through life never getting in touch with their greatness because of the lack of motivation to push themselves, or because they have not found something that they believe to be worthwhile to challenge them. I heard a poem once that said, many a flower has bloomed unceasingly and wasted sweetness upon the cold desert air. It's translated, that means simply that many a talented persons have gone unnoticed, and the world never had a chance to be exposed to their talent because that person did not take the time to begin to express or to demonstrate or to motivate themselves in the direction to bring that which they came into the universe to bring. How can you measure your motivation? How can you evaluate where you are on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's do this for ourselves mentally. How do you rate yourself from 1 to 10? Your mental attitude about yourself, how you feel about you, how you feel about life. How do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your physical appearance, in terms of your health? Do you take care of yourself? Are you allowing yourself to get overweight and out of shape? Are you conscious of your health? Are you watching the food that you take into your body? Do you make a deliberate effort to exercise? You know, it was George Burns. He said, we cannot help getting older, but we don't have to get old. And many of us get old before our time because we don't take time to take care of ourselves. Your environment is a very good indicator. On a scale of 1 to 10, is it what you want it to be? Do you find it desirable? Are you satisfied? The job or career that you're involved in. Someone said that 85% of the American public are unhappy with their jobs. Are you spending 8 hours a day just doing time? Doing something that you don't find challenging, that does not make you stretch mentally, that does not stimulate you, that does not inspire you. something that you don't find a sense of fulfillment in it. If you're doing that day in and day out, it has to affect how you feel about yourself, your level of motivation, your relationships. What kind of impact is it having on your life? Is it nourishing or is it a toxic relationship? Does it drain you or does it build you up? Ask yourself that. How motivated are you to do something about it? Your contribution, your actions. What are you giving? Many people will leave the universe without a trace. No one will know they were here. In fact, under their name, we could put under there, not used up. Will anybody know that you came this way? What contribution are you giving? What will you leave? What will be different because you came this way? Someone once said that life.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing there. It was about 3 minutes into the video, I think. Why don't you come in to close it out here? Come on in. All right. So, about 3 minutes in, we'll have the link there in the video. Just some quick notes that I wrote down. How do you feel? How do you rate yourself? Okay. Are you making a deliberate effort to put yourself in the best position, in the best life that you can? 85% of people are unhappy in their jobs. I think over the last few years, we have seen that actually. This is a video from a long time ago, way before the pandemic. But one thing we saw with that in 2020 was people leaving their jobs in droves, going other places, doing other things, and we're still seeing that churn, right? That really gave people a wake-up call, and people were not happy. 85%, is it really that high? It might be. Are you one of those people that aren't happy with what you're doing? Like he says, 8 hours a day. You feel like you're not making an impact. And then, is your environment, are your relationships, are they nourishing or are they toxic? It's good to take that self-evaluation and really figure out where you're at. And again, that's one of the hardest things to do, is to really look at yourself and figure those kind of things out. So I thought it was a great little quick video. Please watch the rest of it. Les Brown's fantastic. And that's what I got. Isaiah, any thoughts on the video?
No, I liked everything that you said. I think the one thing that I would look at is, 85% of people are unhappy in their jobs. Is that you? Maybe. Can you fix that? Definitely. But it also takes a lot of self-reflecting to see all of those things. So self-reflect, ask yourself those questions, watch the rest of the video. And as far as next week goes, we'll be breaking down each one of these for you guys, going deeper into the process. Have a great rest of your weekend.
And I am coming in just to say that, guys, we are not asking you only to do this exercise, but guess what? My husband and I are going to do it right after we conclude this video. So with that said, we will wrap up this session and let's take a moment to celebrate our victories and reflect on our week. And happy Easter to all of you. Until
Happy
next
Easter.
time, signing
See
off.
you guys.
Take care. See you next week.